So I'm only streaming today because it has been a couple of days since I haven't streamed, and I'm probably not gonna stream tomorrow. So I'm probably not gonna make a lot of progress today, but I'm going to continue to try to build a TTS Chrome extension. And like I'm facing a challenge here with the CSS, so I'm probably gonna have to spend some time reading the documentation and trying to see what's going on because I don't have a lot of experience using this thing here. So I found this very useful boilerplate. I think, yeah, it's this one. And it's pretty much like everything that you need to do in the beginning, like it's kind of like a template, like the name says. So yeah, it's very good. But they use this stuff here that I don't understand really well because I don't have experience using, which is the CSS. And there's also another thing that is new to me, which is the Shadow DOM. So Shadow DOM, as far as I understand right now, is something that you create that allows you to put another DOM inside of the main DOM. So I think it makes sense. So it's kind of like isolating the environment for the extension. So before, the way that I was thinking about it is that I was gonna put the player on the pop-up, and then I was gonna make the pop-up to be the same width and height of the whole page, and then just make it seem like the template is on a part of the page. But then I remember that there is this open source extension here that is a video player. It allows you to change the speed of videos, HTML5 videos, and it's open source. And then like they have this display here inside of the video. So I downloaded this and then I studied a little bit, and I realized that they use content scripts to put the thing on the video. So I think the correct way to do it is through a content script and not through the pop-up. And the way that they do it is just by putting the functionality of changing the settings of the script when you click the pop-up. And that's what makes this thing here work. So when you click here, it sends this message, and then when you reload, so like the message is for permission, and then when you reload, then it shows when you click, and when you click, it disappears. But it's not because this is the pop-up, it's just because it's changing the settings under the hood. And I believe that, I'm not 100% sure, but I think that this is DOM element that they put. They use the shadow DOM to put these elements inside of the main page through a content script. So that's kind of what I'm trying to do. I already had a player from another project that I'm working on, and I'm trying to see if I can put the player component on the shadow DOM. But the issue is the CSS, like, is complaining about the Tailwind doesn't have the class, and then I try some stuff, like I can make it happen with just putting the classes, the CSS with the Tailwind classes directly instead of using the file. But I think I want to understand like what is going on, because yeah, like probably gonna use this template very often because it's very good. So, and as far as I've seen, this CSS is CSS, I think is a superset of CSS, and it's very good. So it kind of allows you to mix some JavaScript with the CSS. So like it allows you to import files like this, and then you can also put functions here, declare variables and stuff like that. And there's a mixing thing that allows you, so if you type like mixing and then a name, it's kind of like a function, but it allows you to put like flex template, let's say. Not really sure about the syntax though, but yeah. And then you can put like display flags and other styles, and then instead of having to write the same styles over and over again, you can put include here, and that's just the name. So, and here you also can put variables and then make it just like a function. So the difference between this one and the function is that this one is used to declare styles, and the function is used to just receive a value and then output another value. But yeah, it seems pretty good to me, like this stuff here. The only annoying thing about these things is that you have to change the configuration, which is the most annoying part, and that's the thing that I'm struggling now, I think. So, like I'm gonna put some music. So the way that the the way you make it work, Chrome extensions with React, is you have to use the files that are produced after you build the project. So what happens is you're going to use a compiler, which normally is going to be either Webpack or Vite. And then what they're going to do is just they're going to go over all the code. So it's very similar on C, where like goes over all the code and then figures out all the imports and then also does some optimizations to the code and puts everything into one file. So just like getting everything, organizing everything, putting everything in one file and simplifying everything. And that's the reason why usually the code that you see here when you inspect pages is going to have only a few letters, which is something that I didn't understand way back then when I was reading this. Because it is a result of this translation, which most of them use Babel, but there's a new one, I think it's CWC, which uses Rust. Yeah, this. But it's pretty much the same thing. You're just compiling JavaScript. No, this is not. No, don't. Maybe if I search for transpiler, here, Rust-based platform. So it's this one. So there's this one in Babel. And then it transpiles all the code and puts everything on one file. And then the way that it happens on React, using Vite, and I think using Webpack, is that it's going to put everything on the dist folder. This folder here. So this is the one that you upload there when you go here. This is the Chrome extensions page, and then you put on developer modes, and then you click on load unpacked, and then you select that folder. For when you're using React, when you're not using React, then obviously you're just gonna select the whole project. But when you're using React, you have to select the part that is the one that's got compiled. So it would be this one, I believe. So yeah, and this is the annoying thing. So because like for the extension to work, the interface between the Chrome API and your application is the manifest.json. So for the extension to work, you have to put the paths here of everything, and you have to specify like the content script. Then you can specify a background script as well. That I'm not 100% sure what's the difference between the background script and the content script, but it's pretty much just a way to organize the JavaScript files to like organize the logic of what's gonna happen on the extension. So the main ones that I know now, like that are pretty intuitive, is the default pop-up, the actions here, which is the stuff that shows when you click the extension, and the content scripts, which is the stuff that is embedded with the page. So anything that you want to embed on the page, you put on these files that you put here, that you specify here. And then there's also this options page, which is like it's kind of hard to explain, but there is on the other extension there is a functionality where you click the page and then it navigates to the options page. So you can think about it as a Chrome standard page, let's say. So like it's a page that allows you to put the settings of the extension and like modifications if you want. And then obviously you can put the functionality on the pop-up page. To, like for example, you put a button to navigate to the options page, and then it shows like the whatever you put there. So you can put like settings to change the settings of the extension, which is obviously optional. It depends on what you're gonna do. But the annoying part is that like we have to understand how Vite compiles everything and how it's gonna format the stuff on the dist folder, so we can put the correct paths on the manifest file. Because this manifest here, in the way that they are doing on this template, is a consequence of this script here. So the way that it works in Vite and in Webpack is that you have specialized files that allow you to change the configuration of the compilers. So the process that happens when the code is being bundled and being parsed and optimized to be run on the browser. And this is the file on Vite that allows you to customize. So as far as I understand right now, they did a custom plugin. So if you want to add extra functionality for the Vite, what you do is you call this function. And I believe that React, there's a command when you start a React project that already puts the React script here. But if you want to customize and put your own then you just use the function and then you pass whatever plugins you want here. So this would be the plugin for React that already comes with the command, I believe. But from the template, everything here comes with that template that I downloaded. And then they create this function here, make manifest, which comes from this file, which uses this manifest TS here to create the manifest, the final manifest that is gonna be on the dist here. So pretty much here on this file, you have the configurations of what's gonna happen. And then I haven't dived too deep into this one yet, but it's just a function that is gonna receive this file here. And then it's gonna do some additional things. There's also some, seems to be useful hooks for storing stuff on the storage, obviously. So everything you wanna do is actually pretty simple. Like the hardest part is the nuances of how to get the data and how to set up the CSS and yeah, how to structure the functionality. But I think that's not that hard, to be honest. So it's like it works in the same way as any API works. Like they give you access to this Chrome API, and then based on the Chrome API, you can put whatever functionality you want. Like you can access the storage, and then you can do some other stuff that I'm gonna have to study now. And then like this is the stuff that I don't know. Like they are creating a key here. So like there's one CSS that is different than all the other ones, which is the content CSS. And its own assets CSS, this one. And it creates this key here for caching validation. But I don't understand 100% why they do this. I think it's so that it updates the CSS every time that you, like for hot reloading, every time you save or every time you make a change. So it changes the CSS based on the key, because the function that sets this up is on this vt here. This function here is the date now. So I don't know, it's kind of weird. And then the other nice thing that they do here is that they create this thing here, which I remember creating this in some TypeScript projects, but it was a little like it was kind of annoying to do it. And here it seems a lot more simple. So all you have to do is just put the resolve key here and then alias. Now, what this allows you to do is just replace the path with these things here, these keys, and then the compiler is gonna replace with whatever variable you put here. So across the code, they have several different imports that they do where they just put the at source, and then the compilers understands that is from that point, which makes it a lot better because then you don't have to put a bunch of dots whenever there's different levels of folders. So that's something that I'm probably gonna adapt to my other projects. But to be honest, the Vite or the Vite configuration and Webpack configurations are the most annoying things because they're usually very hard to debug if something goes wrong because there isn't a lot of information. The information that is available on the documentation, like they don't go very in depth. Yeah. And I think that is understandable because probably they don't want to give too much information, but I'm not 100% sure why. Like, I understand why they don't want to give it, but yeah. It's a hard balance, I think. Like, have to give enough information to help people understand what's going on, but they probably don't want to give everything so that someone doesn't copy them. And I'm not 100% sure if it is open source or not. Like, yeah, so. Webpack, I think it has a lot more information, but it's still kind of annoying to figure out the documentation. Then there's other plugin for custom dynamic imports, which allow lazy loading, I think. So lazy loading is the code only runs once you interact with it, as far as I understand right now. So only when the code is needed, it loads the code. And if you don't lazy load, then it hydrates everything. So hydrating is just making the JavaScript work. So it serves the HTML, then there's another round where it makes the JavaScript work on the HTML. And most of the customizations are around this trade-off. So here's a bunch of options. So the thing that I don't understand that's going on here, it seems that it is a problem with the inputs. This is not really sure. I think it's with the DOM node because it's saying, but I don't remember really well what I was trying to do. But I think it's something to do with the shadow node and the inputs node. So I don't understand really well how shadow nodes work. So now that I went over this, I don't think I'm going to spend too much time right now focusing on this. I'm going to focus on the other stuff first. But I want to understand everything that they are doing here really well, because I really liked this template. So I'm probably going to use this one for like several other extensions. And it is something that's I think it's worth spending the time understanding this, because I was thinking about today and yesterday, like because, and maybe I'm wrong about this, but I think that there is a lot of it gives you a lot of power if you are able to like understand how to build it. So because it's pretty much like just having a robot in the browser. It allows you to like have a bridge of communication, and there's several different things that's probably you can do. So I think even if I'm not going to use this extension, I think that what I'm going to do with this one is try to make it until like I want to have it as a default if the other one breaks down, because I'm relying so much on this text-to-speech thing. It really helps a lot to read faster. So I want to have as a default, but I'm thinking about more of building several different ones through several different things that I'm thinking about doing. And I think it's going to go well with the other stuff about the compilers, especially for like training artificial intelligence and creating, like, if you think about integrating with the blockchain, then I think that there's like a billion applications of this. So I really want to. Before I wasn't really sure about it, but now I think that it is worth it. It's just so much benefits for not that much effort. I think I was overestimating how difficult it would be, but it seems like it's not that difficult. It's just the beginning. You can understand these like small nuances here. Then after that should be easy. So the main thing that I want to understand now is that like the other pages also do the same pattern here, where they are. Oh, let me show a page that has the imports. Also, this is the code from the other project. So I'm studying the other project, trying to see. Like the main thing that I want to get from this other project is like how do they do the CSS and how do they create the components of the player. And as far as I understand here now, they create based on JavaScript because they're not using React on the other project. And then they just have a function that recursively navigates throughout the node and tries to find the types of nodes that have videos. And then once it finds that, it creates a new class, which is a function inside of the settings, which is this video controller, I think. And then based on this function, it creates the shadow node, which is based on the target, which is the DOM element, which is going to be the actual video from the page. So it calls the function with the target, which is the DOM element of the video. Then with this DOM target, creates this other div here, which is the wrapper, and then it creates the shadow with the wrapper, which is like a shadow DOM node. So I think one way to think about it is kind of like the virtual node on React, but it's not the same thing, because the virtual DOM is not the DOM. So like it's kind of like the same logic where like it creates a different DOM, but with Shadow DOM it is an actual DOM. It's just like a different environment from the real DOM, as far as I understand right now. And I think this is the reason why probably I'm having problems with the CSS there. So it creates this shadow, and then it creates this code here. And I think this, yeah, So like because they are not using React, then this is the way that I think they like append these other elements here to the shadow here. But this is the thing, is like I still haven't figured out how they integrate the CSS into this thing here. So obviously these are gonna be the things here, and this is the CSS file they have. So I'm trying to understand how do they, if they connect the CSS, like they have to, because it's not the standard, and the like when I try to apply this thing here, obviously it's not gonna work because they don't have the CSS. So like I try to apply this thing here, and then it is just, it's not the same thing because it doesn't have the CSS, so it just proves that this at some point is applying CSS here based on the classes, I think. It's not just these values here. So somewhere in this code there needs to be something that changes the values. Yeah, but the way that I'm gonna do it, I think, is not with this, because I'm using React, so it makes more sense to just do it on the component. So the way that the template here does it is very similar to the other one, but they create the root div on this page here, and then they append to the body. Then they create another div, which is gonna have the shadow, I think. Yeah, they create the shadow root based on this other one that is appended to the body, and then they append as a child this one, which is the root of the shadow, and then they create a React root, or a DOM root. Yeah, React DOM root based on this one, I think, here. And then they were rendering the app, and I switched to playback. So this one creates like it creates it's like a nested object of React components. So every React component is going to be an object that's going to have key value pairs, and then the connection of them is going to be a tree structure, which is the DOM, but it's going to be the virtual DOM, I think. And this one creates the main one, the parent one, that is going to contain all the other nodes that are going to be children of this. And then when it renders, it makes the connection between this one and whatever you put here. So just rendering like on. And then this thing is the one that I don't understand very well, but as far as I know now, it comes from the Tailwind thing, and it is from, not sure if it is from, but like there is some stuff on the configure, define config there with the Vite that is related to this stuff. But this one comes from the shared style Tailwind. Is this function here, and then these ones, I think, yeah, come from Tailwind. Yeah, this one is the one that comes from the Vite, maybe? Roots. No, it's this thing here. Yeah, here is the one that I think uses the define config. It seems it comes from the Tailwinds, so maybe it's probably not the same thing. But I guess it's a plugin from Tailwind that integrates with Vite. And this is the problem with the configuration. That's the stuff that I'm talking about. Like, it's not very helpful because it just gives you the function definition, but it like, in order to understand the source code, you have to go over, and then it's kind of hard to understand. And the reason why is the whole point of the thing that I'm trying to do, which I keep coming back, because that's like what happens. And I'm not really sure, because I don't know if like it's just me. Like maybe people don't care too much about it, but I feel like everyone should care, because like that's the like the biggest thing that makes programming challenging is these black boxes. It's like people build a bunch of abstractions and then everyone builds on top of those abstractions, but a lot of them are black boxes. So like you kind of have to guess whatever is happening inside. And then if you don't want to guess, then obviously you have to understand. And I think that this is the whole process of becoming better. But yeah, it's always the same thing that you're gonna fall into when you go over this source code of these libraries, that everything is gonna be connected with everything else, and then it's gonna be very confusing to go jump from one to the other. And then it becomes this calculation of how much time like I wanna spend figuring this out or using something else. And this is what I always come back to, I think. So like it's not that it is very hard to understand, it's more about like how much time you wanna invest for, like breaking this down, doing the same thing that I did for that I am doing for CPython and that I did for React to create a flowchart and stuff like that. So let me think about it. So the way that I've seen that it works is just like the easiest way to do it is just to replace all these classes here with the. Let me open a simple page. I think it is this one. So this is the component there that I have, but obviously it doesn't have the CSS here. I think the most annoying thing is the input thing, because the problem is if I use the Tailwind CSS classes, then it's gonna be kind of hard to know how to do it, how to customize the bar, because the way that I did here was by getting from I got the code from VGS, and that's how they like customize, and then I changed the CSS from the way that they were doing to something that I thought looked better. But the way that you have to do it is just like there's several different methods for each specific browser, which is kind of another annoying thing. That's just the way that it is, but it's kind of annoying. And the reason why I think it is like this is because like it's very hard to find a consensus, because everyone is gonna build their own thing, and then people create different standards, and it's very hard to get into an agreement. It's like it's a fundamental problem that we have, because we're not scalable on space-time when it comes to regulation, and I think it's a natural property of space-time that's rules break down over a certain distance in space, because there isn't enough electromagnetic force to create the synchronicity of a network. I think is a byproduct of the computational frequency, computational density of the network that creates these standards. But it makes things like harder, because like you have to create a bunch of different CSSs for each specific browser so that they all work. And the problem with the Tailwind CSS is that I was using like a simple converter here just to see if it's gonna work. But then obviously for the bar, like I can't do it with the file, so I have to put directly on the class name. And for the bars, I didn't find so far like how to specify for each different browser CSS, so I'm gonna lose some information if I do it directly with the thing. But if I do it with the file, then I'm getting the problem there. So either I figure this out, this thing here. So maybe I should try to use ChatGPT. So obviously the classes here, the name is incorrect, because like this is the thing is like even though I'm not 100% sure actually. No, actually I think I kind of get it, because like on the other files they are doing the same thing, the files that come with the template. So here like there is other custom files. Also this is another stuff that they do, which is a key on the manifest that allows you to customize the new tab. So whenever you create a new tab, it allows you to put another page here. If you put on the manifest file this key here. Chrome URL overrides. So it's just pretty much this page here on this one. So specify the path to the page and the new tab. Yeah, but here, let's see. I deleted it, but I comment it out. But it's using this component here, and then on here, I think that it imports the CSS and this other one, which are the ones that it has here, and then these ones are compiled when you build. They go through the this folder. What's going on? Oh, have to something broke here. I'm not sure what's going on. That should be something that I changed. Maybe it's because the file was open or something like that. Let me just try to do the thing again. Could be because of permissions on the file. I had the folder open, then I tried to access, and it got blocked, but I'm not sure. Hopefully it works now. And so the CSS that imports here, it creates its own file, which is different than the content style one. And I think that the main difference is that because on the content one is using, so here you can see that maybe I comment it out, but yeah. So yeah, so here it creates the playback CSS. So it is creating this CSS, but the CSS is not working. And I think that the main difference is that here is like the node of the playback is inside of the Shadow DOM. That's the main difference between this CSS and the other ones. And then he's using this thing here. So is like this function, I don't understand really well because I never used this Tailwind thing. But this is going to be the other one, it's going to be this one, and this is going to use the configurations from Tailwind. So what I assume is happening here is that it's attaching the Shadow DOM node to this Tailwind class here, and that allows you to put the CSS, the Tailwind CSS on that thing. So the class probably creates the bridge between the normal DOM and the Shadow DOM, allowing you to put CSS. And for some reason, you can't really do CSS on the Shadow DOM. I think that's the problem. And yeah, that's the main difference. So I think this is the reason why I'm getting this error here, because that comes from the, I'm pretty sure it is because I commented this out before. But even if I comment this out, then I get a problem with the inputs, I think. So it complains that the input doesn't have a parent or something like that. It's another error that I was getting. It looks like it's working here now. Not really sure why. I was getting an error that it was complaining that the inputs doesn't have a parent. And it was just when I was putting the playback here, so I assume that it's because of the, like, the only thing that makes sense is because of these inputs here. So for some reason, when you create the shadow node, when you create the shadow node, the input breaks down. So yeah, that's the thing. Like, the weird thing is that some CSS here is working. Maybe I should go over the other project to show. I don't remember really well if I think I'm gonna have to spend a bunch of time trying to. I think it's not worth it, but yeah, like the colors is not the same thing here. The colors are not working. Not really sure why. So one thing that I can do is just try to make this work like this. the other thing would be content accounts. To just change the classes so that it works with Tailwind. I remember that I got an error when I did it like this as well, so maybe I'm gonna do one again and see what happens. Yeah, I don't get why this. Obviously, after I figure this out, I'm gonna have to figure out how to add the functionality. And then it's gonna be a question of which place is better to put. And then there's another project here that I found, which is a text-to-speech, but it's not the same way that I wanna do it. It seems like they do it with the pop-up, but there's also some stuff on the documentation here that says that if you wanna use TTS, you put on the manifest file, and then Google has a TTS engine. And it's probably how you do it, but I have to figure out what. Probably gonna read the documentation, and I have to figure out if it's better to put on the background script or the content script. I think it makes more sense that it would be on the content. So probably it's gonna be the content, and then there's probably a method on the Chrome API to get access to the TTS. So probably what I'm gonna do is just what I'm doing here. It's gonna be based on the state, and then instead of doing the functions that I was doing before, here I just put the stuff related to the Chrome API. The main priority that I have is to be able to highlight the text. Well, this is another thing, is like how to get the text on the page. That's another problem. I think that I should probably not do it on the contents. So it's probably gonna be on the background, but then how do I communicate between the two? I think there is a Chrome API thing to do that. Sending messages, I think. I remember seeing that. That's probably how you do it. Yeah, but the main priority for me is speed. I don't really care about which voice it is that much, as long as I can go like really fast and highlight the text, and also like regulate so that it goes down the page as it reads. That's also very nice. So those are the main things that I want to achieve. I think after I achieve those things, then I go back to studying CPython. I figure out how, like, it is the stuff that I was saying. The run make file create is the path of the file. Then there's a function that creates the file object, but it's still not clear to me how the file object is used. Like, the main thing that it does is just put the file object on the tokens, and then you just put the tokens on the parser struct. And then from the parser struct, it's gonna call the functions that parse the code. So it's not very clear, because it would make more sense in my mind that it reads the file first, and then converts from the file, it calls the other functions, but it seems like that's not what's happening. It creates the parser struct first, and then from the parser struct, it calls the other functions, and then uses the file object inside of the token to convert. So I'm not really sure. It's gonna take some time, I think, to understand that. So the question is, how should I go about... Maybe I should just read this thing here. I think I'm just gonna read this. They fixed the thing here, but I wanna do it this right now. Because like I said, I realized that it is very worth it to put the time to understand how to do this. And it is good to have a backup, I think, that is open source. I also think the repository is gonna be here. It's gonna be public, and if anyone wants to do pull requests, then obviously It's very welcomed. So my plan is like to just get to the point where it's very good and I want to use it, like, and then yeah, I was thinking about incorporating blockchain to this as well, but I'm not really sure if it's worth the time invested or if I should go back to CPython first. But I'm probably gonna leave to that, yeah, at least do that, and then if people wanna collaborate, then obviously it would be very nice. So, and this is the page for the that they have there for the new tab. It's very good template. So I think we're gonna be right back. Then I'm gonna read this stuff with the text-to-speech, and I'm gonna spend some time. If I can't figure out how to change the CSS, I think I'm just gonna go with the easier option, which is just replace everything with the Tailwind version from the website. It doesn't need to be. That's another thing, is like I don't really care that much, like as long as it works. So the main priority is to make it work with the reading the text, highlighting the text, and the speed. Mainly the speed, I think, is the most important. So yeah, and to figure that out, next thing that I'm gonna do once I figure this out, once I change the CSS, is to figure out how to add the functionality. So it's probably next thing, just gonna read the Chrome documentation to see how to get the text-to-speech, and I assume that the text-to-speech part is gonna be here, but I'm not really sure which one I have to do first, because obviously if I can't get the text from the page, then how I'm gonna test the text-to-speech. Maybe we can just put a string and see if it works. Yeah, that's an idea. So I think I'm probably gonna try that. Because yeah, I have to read the documentation to see how to create the bridge between the two, and where should I create the code that gets the data from the page. That's also gonna be very interesting. I think it's probably the background script that gets the pages, like the data from the page, and then you send from the background. So maybe studying this one here as well is gonna help. But the thing is, like, this is very different than what I'm trying to do. So I already understand a little bit how they do it. They just get the DOM elements by traversing the tree, and then they use that DOM element to create the controls, I think. So like, it's different than what I'm trying to do, but maybe that's actually it's pretty much the same thing. Like, yeah, I think it actually is not probably that hard, because all I have to do is just just get the body, and then you traverse the body. So let me find the function here that they traverse the tree. Probably all I have to do is just like use that function and then traverse the tree and just get the text for all the nodes. The thing that I don't know how they do it is, that seems like it's more complicated, is to select what nodes should get the text from. Because obviously, if I get the text from all the nodes, then it's gonna read everything. And somehow here they do it so that it only reads the main parts of the text on the page. So I'm not really sure how they do that. It looks like it's not working now. Yeah, so here it starts reading from here and then here, and then it doesn't read these other ones. So I'm not really sure how they do that. It's probably a filter, I think. It's the only thing that makes sense. But then the annoying thing is that I'm gonna have to figure out which DOM nodes exactly, because it has to work for all the pages. So that's the tricky part, I think. And here they have this run action, which is like a factory function, or for event listeners. Yeah, so this is the class that they create. That's the one that is gonna, and this is the nodes. So this is the main node that is gonna create the class. I think that this is the function that, yeah, this is the recursive function. So this traverses through the tree. Oh, they use this observer here. So I'm gonna search here. This one I remember using for resizing stuff, but not for this thing. But the way that it works is that it listens to elements, I think, inside of here. And then from the observer, they do this switch here, based on the mutation type, which is probably the node type. And then inside of here, they just loop over the nodes and then call the function to traverse the node tree. And if it is a video, the node name is a video or an audio. Then they create the controller, which is the class that is going to have the logic to handle the players. But obviously for me, it's going to be different. So, but I think I can do the same thing. So it's probably going to be on the... I think what I'm going to do is just like create another file, JavaScript file, and then I can put like these functions here on the other JavaScript file, and I can just change them so that it extracts all the data instead of creating the class here. And then from the data, I can just call these functions on the use effect, on the playback, and then I can use that data. Yeah, like so I'm probably gonna put a state here with the tags. And then I have another function that calls other function from JavaScript file that I make here. That function is gonna call these ones, or it's gonna be the same as these ones, traverse the tree, or create this thing here, traverse the tree, get all the data, and then from the when I get the data, just set the tags, and then I do the logic based on the tags for the text to speech. That's probably gonna be what I do. I'm gonna be right back.
An important aspect of custom elements is encapsulation, because a custom element, by definition, is a piece of reusable functionality. It might be dropped into any web page and be expected to work. So it's important that code running in the page should not be able to accidentally break a custom element by modifying its internal implementation. Shadow DOM enables you to attach a DOM tree to an element and have the internals of this tree hidden from JavaScript and CSS running in the page. This article covers the basics of using a Shadow DOM. High-level view. This article assumes you're already familiar with the concept of the DOM, document object model, a tree-like structure of connected nodes that represents the different elements and strings of text appearing in a markup document, usually an HTML document in the case of web documents. As an example, consider the following HTML fragment. HTML copy to clipboard. HTML lang equals NUS greater than head meta charset equals UTF-8 greater than title DOM example slash title slash head body section and src equals dinosaur.png equals a red Tyrannosaurus rex slash greater than p. Here we will add a link to the href equals https://www.mozilla.org slash greater than Mozilla homepage slash a slash p slash section slash body slash HTML. This fragment produces the following DOM structure, excluding white space only text nodes. HTML, head, meta charset equals UTF-8, title, hashtag text, DOM example, body, section, img src equals dinosaur.png equals a red Tyrannosaurus rex. P, hashtag text. Here we will add a link to the href equals https://www.mozilla.org slash hashtag text. Mozilla homepage. Shadow DOM allows hidden DOM trees to be attached to elements in the regular DOM tree. This shadow DOM tree starts with a shadow root, underneath which you can attach any element, in the same way as the normal DOM. There are some bits of shadow DOM terminology to be aware of. Shadow host, the regular DOM node that the shadow DOM is attached to. Shadow tree, the DOM tree inside the shadow DOM. Shadow boundary, the place where the shadow DOM ends, and the regular DOM begins. Shadow root, the root node of the shadow tree. You can affect the nodes in the shadow DOM in exactly the same way as non-shadow nodes. For example, appending children or setting attributes, styling individual nodes using element.style.foo, or adding style to the entire shadow DOM tree inside a style element. The difference is that none of the code inside of Shadow DOM can affect anything outside it, allowing for handy encapsulation. Before Shadow DOM was made available to web developers, browsers were already using it to encapsulate the inner structure of an element. Think, for example, of a video element. With the default browser controls exposed, all you see in the DOM is the video element, but it contains a series of buttons and other controls inside of Shadow DOM. The Shadow DOM spec enables you to manipulate the Shadow DOM of your own custom elements, creating a Shadow DOM. The following page contains two elements: a div element with a div host, and a span element containing some text. HTML play copy to clipboard. Div equals host slash div span greater than I'm not in the Shadow DOM slash span. We're going to use the host element as the shadow host. We call attach shadow on the host to create the Shadow DOM, and can then add nodes to the Shadow DOM just like we would to the main DOM. In this example, we add a single span element. JS play copy to clipboard. Const host equals document dot query selector hashtag host. Const shadow equals host dot attach shadow mode. Open. Const span equals document dot create element span. Span dot text content equals. I'm in the Shadow DOM. Shadow dot append child span. The result looks like this. Play. Encapsulation from JavaScript. So far this might not look like much, but let's see what happens if code running the page tries to access elements in the Shadow DOM. This page is just like the last one, except we've added two button elements. HTML play copy to clipboard. Div equals host slash div span greater than I'm not in the Shadow DOM slash span br. Greater than button equals upper type equals button greater than uppercase span element slash button equals reload type equals button greater than reload slash button. Clicking the uppercase span elements button finds all span elements in the page and changes their text to uppercase. Clicking the reload button just reloads the page, so you can try again. JS play copy to clipboard. Const host equals document dot query selector hashtag host. Const shadow equals host dot attach shadow mode. Open. Const span equals document dot create element span. Span dot text content equals. I'm in the Shadow DOM. Shadow dot append child span. Const upper equals document dot query selector button hash upper dot add event listener click equals greater than const spans equals array dot from document dot query selector all span. 4 const span of spans. Span dot text content equals span dot text content dot to uppercase. Const reload equals document dot query selector hashtag reload. Reload dot add event listener click equals greater than document dot location dot reload. If you click uppercase span elements, you'll see the document dot query selector all doesn't find the elements in our Shadow DOM. They are effectively hidden from JavaScript in the page. Play element dot shadow root and the mode option. In the example above, we pass an argument mode open to attach shadow. With mode set to open, the JavaScript in the page is able to access the internals of your Shadow DOM through the shadow root property of the shadow host. In this example, as before, the HTML contains the shadow host, a span element in the main DOM tree, and two buttons. HTML play copy to clipboard.
It's actually not going to be as simple, I think, as I was thinking, because like the most challenging part is this one of as you read the text, you scroll the page. I'm not 100% sure. It's not very clear in my mind how to do that. Because obviously, like for scrolling, there's gonna be an event, and then you can attach a function. But then, how do you do it so that I guess you can use flag variables maybe, and it has to be synchronized with the text to speech. I think the highlighting probably is not that hard. You just change the. So maybe you should write the questions that I have. So I think that you change the style of the DOM node that you are traversing. But this is the thing, is that like if I traverse everything to get the text first, then I'm not gonna have access, or maybe I will. I can create a data structure that keeps track of the DOM node. Yeah, so like a dictionary that saves the DOM nodes that I'm traversing and getting the text. So this is one strategy. So I was thinking that like the problem with creating the dictionary obviously is that like you can't map. I think you can put the DOM node as a key for the thing. So maybe, but if you use a list, then how do you know exactly the text? Like if the text is from that DOM node, I guess you can just create a list of DOM nodes or that have text that you want to read, and then you put them in the correct sequence that you find them, I think. So you traverse a node, and then based on the way you traverse, you append to a list. Then the order of the list is going to be the order that you're going to read. And then from the main page, you just loop over the array, and then for each DOM node, because you have access to the DOM, to the node, you can change the style, I think. So the question is how to change the style. So another question, I think I'm gonna read the documentation. Sure, hopefully they explain this on the documentation, but I think that's what is the distinction? What makes it tricky is more about because they're probably not gonna have stuff explaining when it comes to React and the way that you have to do there with the setup to make it work with React. So that's might be the stuff that's kind of annoying. But so what is the distinction between the environment from the content scripts? And the environments. on the page. So on the pop-up, they make it pretty clear that the pop-up environment is separate from the page environment. And then if you want to access the page environment from the pop-up, you can use the Chrome API to do that. But on the content, I'm not really sure. So I'm guessing that it is the same environment because on the other one, they access the target directly from the document global variable. So I think it's probably the same. Yeah, so here, like they call the observe on the document itself to assume that it is the same environment. So if I can't do that, then all I have to do is just I'm probably gonna do that right now. So what's gonna be the name of the function? So I'm gonna create a separate page just to put these functions here that reverse the DOM. Maybe get data. The other thing that they do is that they keep track of the elements that have the thing attached, I think. So this is a list on the settings, I think, or a global list. It's something else that I'm gonna have to think about. Maybe it's not the global variable because this is inside of the other function. So maybe the document here is something. I have to see where this function is called. So I'm gonna read the thing first. So it's this one. Yeah, so this is the API from Chrome, and then there is in this method here. So this probably gets variable you set. So I think in the beginning they set this settings and then so it allows you to get the variable from the storage, I think. And then there's a callback function you can pass. I assume that's what's happening. So you access the local storage, you get the settings variable which they set, and then they call this function. And then this function initializes everything. So it looks like this function has access to. So it's probably the same thing. It's not the same environment, but you can use the API to get access to the environment of the real DOM. And that's how they access the document here. I think it's getting clear on my mind how it works. So what I can do, obviously, is put this stuff inside of a function, and I call the function inside of the use effect on the playback thing. But maybe they are setting the settings somewhere else. Oh, here. But that doesn't make a lot of sense for me. Because if they're getting the settings here, then how do they set inside of the thing? Doesn't make sense.
Div equals host slash div span greater than I'm not in the shadow dom slash span br. Greater than button equals upper type equals button greater than uppercase shadow dom span element slash button equals reload type equals button greater than reload slash button. This time the uppercase button uses shadow root to find the span elements in the dom. JS play copy to clipboard. Const host equals document dot query selector hashtag host. Const shadow equals host dot attach shadow mode. Open. Const span equals document dot create element span. Span dot text content equals. I'm in the shadow dom. Shadow dot append child span. Const upper equals document dot query selector button hash upper dot add event listener click equals greater than. Const spans equals array dot from host dot shadow root dot query selector all span. 4. Const span of spans. Span dot text content equals span dot text content dot to uppercase. Const reload equals document dot query selector hashtag reload. Reload dot add event listener click equals greater than document dot location dot reload. This time the JavaScript running in the page can access the shadow dom internals. Play. The mode open argument gives the page a way to break the encapsulation of your shadow dom. If you don't want to give the page this ability, pass mode closed instead, and then shadow root returns null. However, you should not consider this a strong security mechanism because there are ways it can be evaded. For example, by browser extensions running in the page. It's more of an indication that the page should not access the internals of your shadow dom tree. Encapsulation from CSS. In this version of the page, the HTML is the same as the original. HTML play copy to clipboard. Div equals host slash div span greater than I'm not in the shadow dom slash span. In the JavaScript, we create the shadow dom. JS play copy to clipboard. Const host equals document dot query selector hashtag host. Const shadow equals host dot attach shadow mode. Open. Const span equals document. The page CSS does not affect nodes inside the shadow dom. Play. Applying styles inside the shadow dom. In this section, we'll look at two different ways to apply styles inside a shadow dom tree. Programmatically, by constructing a style sheet object and attaching it to the shadow root. Declaratively, by adding a style element and a template elements declaration. In both cases, the styles defined in the shadow dom tree are scoped to that tree. So just Just page styles don't affect elements in the shadow dom. Shadow dom styles don't affect elements in the rest of the page. Constructible style sheets. To style page elements in the shadow dom with constructible style sheets, we can create an empty style sheet object. Set its content using style sheet.replace or style sheet.replace sync. Add it to the shadow root by assigning it to shadow root.adopted style sheets. Rules defined in the style sheet will be scoped to the shadow dom tree, as well as any other dom trees to which we have assigned it. Here, again, is the HTML containing our host and a span. HTML play copy to clipboard. Div equals host slash div span greater than I'm not in the shadow dom. This time we will create the shadow dom and assign its style sheet object to it. JS play copy to clipboard. Const sheet equals nuke style sheet. Sheet.replace sync span. Color, red, border, 2px dotted black. Const host equals document dot query. The styles defined in the shadow dom tree are not applied in the rest of the page. Play. Adding style elements and template declarations. An alternative to constructing style sheet objects is to include a style element inside the template element used to define a web component. In this case, the HTML includes the template declaration. In the JavaScript, we will create the shadow dom and add the content of the template to it. JS play copy to clipboard. Const host equals document dot query selector hashtag host. Const shadow equals host dot attach shadow mode. Open. Const template equals document dot get. Again, the styles defined in the template are applied only within the shadow dom tree and not in the rest of the page. Play. Choosing between programmatic and declarative options. Which of these options to use is dependent on your application and personal preference. Creating a style sheet and assigning it to the shadow root using adopted style sheets allows you to create a single style sheet and share it among many dom trees. For example, a component library could create a single style sheet and then share it among all the custom elements belonging to that library. The browser will parse that style sheet once. Also, you can make dynamic changes to the style sheet and have them propagate to all components that use the sheet. The approach of attaching a style element is great if you want to be declarative, have few styles, and don't need to share styles across different components. Shadow dom and custom elements. Without the encapsulation provided by shadow dom, custom elements would be impossibly fragile. It would be too easy for a page to accidentally break a custom element's behavior or layout by running some page JavaScript or CSS. As a custom element developer, you never know whether the selectors applicable inside your custom element conflicted with those that applied in the page that chose to use your custom element. Custom elements are implemented as a class which extends either the base nightmon or a built-in HTML element such as nightmon paragraph element. Typically, the custom element itself is a shadow host, and the element creates multiple elements under that root to provide the internal implementation of the element. The example below creates a filled circle custom element that just renders a circle filled with a solid color. JS play copy to clipboard. Class filled circle extends nightmon. Constructor super connected callback / create a shadow root / the custom element itself is a shadow host. Const shadow equals this dot attach shadow mode. Open / create the internal implementation. Const svg equals document dot create element http / www.w3.org / 2000 / svg svg. Const circle equals document dot create.
So I assume that's probably what they're doing there. So, but they're doing that, and that they are using the other classes to, or the other function from Tailwind to probably inherit or create a connection between the Cascade or CSS style sheet class with the Tailwind class. I'm gonna read this one, and then maybe I'll read the. I think I'm gonna read some of the Tailwind's pages here, and then I'll go back to reading the source code, trying to figure out. I'm just gonna go from the beginning. So the question is, why isn't it working there? It's showing like this, but it's not. Maybe let me put the background black, just see. It is supposed to be black. It's clearly not working. I guess the easiest way also is to click here and then. And the question is why though? Maybe if I remove this part here. Yeah, maybe that's the problem. No. The thing is, when I use the app thing, it seems to it was supposed to work with the. I'm not really sure why it's not working now. Because it was working with the Tailwind as well when I did it here. Maybe it's because the other ones. Yeah, let me see. I'm gonna leave like this and then just remove the other classes. Just see if that works. Just gonna see how to make the background black. It's just BG black. Because then I'm gonna know if it worked or not. Maybe just remove everything. So first I'll try like this. So if it doesn't work, I remove the other classes. I'm pretty sure that's... No, it's still not working. Oh, maybe it's because yeah, obviously. Because I comment this out, so that's why it doesn't work. Forgot that I comment this out. So yeah, I think that's... So let me try again to go back to having the classes here. Then attach this. Because I think that if I have both of them, yeah, but it shouldn't matter if I'm commenting it out there. Okay, so now it works. Yeah, but then yeah, that's the problem. If I have both, it complains because of the classes. Yeah, so I'm gonna read this stuff here and then some of the pages on this one, and I'm probably gonna just change to work with the Tailwinds, change the classes that I have there so that it works with the Tailwinds, and then I'm gonna focus on the other stuff. Then I'm probably gonna study offstream this. Why isn't it working with the normal CSS files? That's what I wanna know.
Get real-time assistance with your coding queries. Try AI Help now. Style Sheet. The Style Sheet interface represents a single CSS style sheet and lets you inspect and modify the list of rules contained in the style sheet. It inherits properties and methods from its parent. Style Sheet. Style Sheet. Style Sheet. A style sheet consists of a collection of rule objects representing each of the rules in the style sheet. The rules are contained in a rule list, which can be obtained from the style sheet CSS rules property. For example, one rule might be a style rule object containing a style such as CSS copy to clipboard, H1, H2, font size, 16 pints. Another rule might be an rule such as an import or a media, and so forth. See the obtaining a style sheet section for the various ways a style sheet object can be obtained. A style sheet object can also be directly constructed. The constructor and style sheet.replace and style sheet.replacing methods are newer additions to the specification, enabling constructible style sheets. Constructor. Style sheet creates a new style sheet object. Instance properties. Inherits properties from its parent. Style sheet. Style sheet.css rules. Read only. Returns a live rule list which which maintains an up-to-date list of the tool objects that comprise the style sheet. Note, in some browsers, if a style sheet is loaded from a different domain, accessing CSS rules results in a security error. Style sheet.owner rule. Read only. If this style sheet is imported into the document using an import rule, the owner rule property returns the corresponding import rule. Otherwise, this property's value is null. Instance methods. Inherits methods from its parent. Style sheet. Style sheet.delete rule. Deletes the rule at the specified index into the style sheet's rule list. Style sheet.insert rule. Inserts a new rule at the specified position in the style sheet, given the textual representation of the rule. Style sheet.replace. Asynchronously replaces the content of the style sheet and returns a promise that resolves with the updated style sheet. Style sheet.replace sync. Synchronously replaces the content of the style sheet. Legacy properties. These properties are legacy properties as introduced by Microsoft. These are maintained for compatibility with existing sites. Rules read-only deprecated. The rules property is functionally identical to the standard CSS rules property. It returns a live tool list which maintains an up-to-date list of all of the rules in the style sheet. Legacy methods. These methods are legacy methods as introduced by Microsoft. These are maintained for compatibility. Installation. Twin is a small compiler that converts utility classes into CSS at runtime. The goal of this project is to unify the flexibility of CSS and JS with the carefully considered constraints of the Tailwind CSS API. Local, bundler, browser usage, Twin CDN, what to read next, integrations, migration, utility first CSS without any build step right in the browser or any other environment like Node.js, Dino, workers. If you have used Tailwind CSS or other CSS.
Another question is, that I just realized that I have is just that's the PDF reader. I'm thinking about creating a PDF reader as well, but separately from this. But I'm not 100% sure if I'm gonna do that or not, because like if I choose to do that, then I'm probably gonna use either C++ or C, and then it's gonna be very hard. So maybe it's not worth it to do it. But one thing that just popped in my mind is that it's gonna be very hard. It's probably gonna be very hard, I think, to, but maybe not. Maybe the libraries do that for you already, which is just to figure out how to read the PDF in the correct way. And there was some problems that I have with this, but I guess it's just a very difficult thing to do, because like imagine that different PDFs have different formats of the sequence of the text. So some of them, it starts on the left and then goes to the right, and others is like the full page. So not really sure how I'm gonna do that. But I think for this thing, I don't need it. But if I choose to do the other one, then I think it's gonna be very difficult.
And JS solutions, then most of the API should feel very familiar. Important. The @twin/core package does not include any rules or variants. You need to install an existing preset or bring your own preset to get started. Local, bundler, tip. Twin provides several integrations for different frameworks and environments. Install Twin. Twin is available on npm. SHNPM install @twin/core. Define the configuration. Using an extra file, twin.config.js. Allows some tools like IntelliSense to find your configuration. JS import. Define config. From @twin/core export default define config. Option / load Twin in your application entry point. Install creates and registers a Twin instance that will generate the styles. This allows third-party packages to import TW from the Twin package and get the same instance. JS import. Install. From @twin/core import config from ./twin.config/activate Twin. Must be called at least once. Install config. Optional. Install and configure the recommended presets @twin/preset auto prefix and @twin/preset tailwind. Install the presets. All presets are available on npm. SHNPM install @twin/preset auto prefix @twin/preset tailwind. Configure the presets. Each preset must be added to the presets array in the configuration. JS import. Define config. From @twin/core import preset auto prefix from @twin/preset auto prefix import preset tailwind from @twin/preset tailwind export default define config presets. Preset auto prefix. Preset tailwind. Start using Twin in your HTML. Start using Twin classes to style your content. HTML h1 class equals text 3xl font bold underline greater than hello world. Less than /h1 greater than. Optional. Prevent fug. In case you are not using static extraction to include the generated styles on the server, apply the following pattern to prevent fug. HTML body class equals block style equals display none greater than less than greater than /body. If any element has the autofocus attribute, Twin will focus it after all styles are injected. Todo. What's next? List and links of framework integrations. All official integrations are available on npm with a prefix of Twin/with. Browser usage. Twin is available as a global browser script and can be used directly in the browser. Tip. We recommend to use Twin CDN if you want to use Tailwind utilities. Add the Twin script to your HTML. Add the script tag to the head of your HTML file. HTML head script src equals https://cdn.deliver.net/npm/twin/core 1 /origin/script/head. Create the environment. Install creates a Twin instance that will observe class attributes and generate the course. Presets. Presets group common configuration, like rules and variants, into a reusable package. Using presets, official presets, community presets. Create a new preset. The Twin core package does not include any utilities. All utilities are provided via presets or user configuration. The most common task of a preset is to add custom rules and variants. Rules are responsible for generating CSS declarations for a given class name. Variants allow to specify under what circumstances utilities will be activated. Tip. For the full Tailwind CSS experience, use a Twin/preset Tailwind or start with Twin CDN, a drop-in replacement for Tailwind CSS Play CDN that is 6 times smaller, 104 kilobits versus 17 kilobytes. Using presets. Presets need to be installed and added to the presets option of the Twin config. JS import. Define config. From @twin/core import preset auto prefix from @twin/preset auto prefix import preset tailwind from @twin/preset tailwind export default define config presets. Preset auto prefix. Preset tailwind. Official presets. All official presets are available on npm with a prefix of Twin/preset. @twin/preset auto prefix provides a CSS vendor prefix or in property alias mapper. @twin/preset container queries provides utilities for container queries. @twin/preset x adds some commonly used rules and variants that are not part of Tailwind CSS. @twin/preset line clamp adds utilities for visually truncating text after integrations. How to use Twin in different frameworks and environments. Using integrations, official integrations, community integrations. Create a new integration. Twin is designed to be used in almost any environment and exposes several different bundles from ESM to UMD. The ESM bundle should be preferred for its smaller size after tree shaking and faster performance. No build step. Although Twin is compatible with traditional bundlers, there is no build step required to use Twin. Using integrations. An integration usually has two parts. Activate Twin. Install creates and registers a Twin instance that will generate the styles. This allows third-party packages to import TW from the Twin package and get the same instance. JS import. Install. From @twin/core import config from ./twin.config/activate Twin install config. Static extraction. Extract the styles from the HTML e.g. server-side rendering. Pseudocode. Depends on the used framework or environment. JS import. Inline. From @twin/core function render. Const HTML.
It's also something weird that's some of the pages it shows, but other ones, or maybe just because. But I think on YouTube it doesn't show. So I'm not 100% sure why this happens. Yeah, here it seems like it doesn't show anymore. But if I click there, then it seems like it it does exist if I inspect here. Yeah, that's the thing. So I don't understand really well why it's not showing on YouTube. Oh, maybe it's because of the other extension that I have. It's blocking the other one. So I think what I'm gonna do is just convert everything to CSS. Maybe I'll stop here and do this stuff. I think I'm gonna stop because I just streamed today because it's probably not gonna stream tomorrow, and it has been a couple of days since I don't stream, so just wanted to talk about what I'm doing, the progress, and show the templates and stuff like that. So I'm probably gonna continue to do this off stream now. Yeah. So what I'm gonna do is just convert I'm gonna spend more time trying to understand why it's not working with the classes here. So I assume that it's probably because you need specific names or something like that when you're using. Yeah, like when I use the Tailwind thing, I can only use the Tailwind classes. I can't use custom classes. I think that's the problem. But if I don't use this thing, I don't understand why. Like if I comment this out, I don't understand why the normal classes are not working. So maybe the last thing that I should try is just. Yeah, but the background should be different. So like I don't get why it doesn't work. So I want to understand how why it doesn't work with the classes. And after I figure out after I figure out the CSS, then I'm gonna do what I said. Try to incorporate these other functions, the functions that I got from the other project, to traverse the tree, get the data. I think I'm gonna get the elements instead of the text, and then put them on an array, and then read the documentation for the text-to-speech to figure out how to create the engine and get the engine. Then attach the functionality to the components here based on the text-to-speech. Then from that, synchronize that with the dome elements. So I think that's the most difficult part, is you have to synchronize every time you have to put the functionality based on the buttons of how, and then synchronize but maybe it's not that hard. Like you just call the text-to-speech engine, and then you change the CSS of the DOM element that is being read at the time. I think that, yeah, but maybe there is stuff that I don't know, so. But I'm gonna do this off stream. I'm probably gonna come back 2 days from now. I'm gonna continue to do this stuff. Once I get to the point where I have something that is decent enough and reads fast and does whatever I wanted to do, then I'm gonna go back to studying CPython to understand what is going on, and then I'm gonna continue probably with the other project that I'm doing. So yeah, see you then.